The Jehovah's Witnesses are a corporation pretending to be a religion, and as we know, all corporations love forms. Measuring your spirituality? There's a form for that. Appointing elders? There's a form for that. Keeping track of CSA issues inside your congregation? Well, unfortunately, there is also a form for that. This is the S-175 form, and it calls itself a worksheet. It starts like any other worksheet with the instructions. Number 1 talks about the language that will be used throughout the worksheet, calling the abuse a sexual sin instead of an actual crime, and minimizing the crime by calling it matter. The abuser becomes the accused, and the child, described in the form as the younger party, is referred to as victim. It also has cherry-picked Bible verses to remind the elders of their duty to secrecy, finishing by saying that this form may only be shared with the service department. I'll make a video about the service department later, but it's basically a legal and crisis department for the Jehovah's Witnesses, where all abuse is reported instead of the police. So remember guys, don't share this document around because it is extremely secret. Number 2 reminds the elders handling this matter that they need to reread chapter 14 of the Shepherd the Flock of God book before doing anything. That is a secret elders manual that goes for almost 300 pages on how to judge and how to enforce the cult rules into the followers. Chapter 14 is the one that talks about CSA. We won't go through the whole chapter, but suffice to say, it defines CSA as a gross sin and tells elders to inform to the victims of their right of reporting to the authorities. It doesn't tell elders to make sure that the matter is reported to the police. Elders are merely to inform the victim of their right to report it. That is not the case if teenagers are found sexting, in which case both can be disfellowshipped and shunned from their religion, family and friends included. It also tells elders to call to the service department to check if they need to report the matter to the police. Again, instead of telling them to report it to the police regardless. It also defines CSA as something that cannot happen between a minor who is a willing participant and a young adult, and tells elders that people watching CP should merely be counseled, because apparently that's just as bad as watching regular porn. It even gives them instructions for when the abuser is deemed repentant and therefore is allowed to remain in the congregation, and how in that case the elders should merely just try their best that the person is not in contact with children, not even allowed to inform parents in the congregation about it unless the service department says so. If I had to summarize the whole CSA section, I'd say it's basically telling the elders to always contact the service department for instructions and always do what they say, even when it comes down to deciding whether or not the issue should be reported to the parents or the police. Number 3 tells elders to use separate worksheets for each victim. Use concise and truthful answers and only use the initials of the victim. Number 4 tells elders to only send this worksheet through jwpub.org, which is where all information is consolidated. And number 5 instructs the elders to destroy any physical or electronic copies of this document once it has been sent to the service department. Before, records were kept in congregation files, but that changed once some places raided their congregation files to persecute abusers. Now, all evidence is solely under the service department, which no government seems interested to indict. And after reading all of those instructions, we can finally start filling our CSA worksheet. Section A is about the congregation information, which is how every Jehovah's Witness is identified and kept track of. Section B gathers all of the information regarding the accused, including their status in the congregation, whether or not they have confessed, and 2 questions meant to find out their reputation in the congregation and in the community. Obviously, their reputation has no bearing on the actual accusation, but it is extremely important if you're planning on covering it up. Section C gathers all of the information about the victim, including whether or not they're still minor, whether their parents know about the matter, how the family of the victim view the accused, noting not to ask the family directly, just fill it up with whatever you know about it, and whether or not anyone involved in this matter got informed of their right to report the issue to the secular authorities, aka the police. Section D is the most horrifying one. It starts with just 5 words. Describe specifically what took place, followed by the largest area to write in. This white and empty area was haunting and almost disturbing to look at while I was preparing this video, knowing how this blank area has been filled with the most horrifying things to ever be covered up by this religion. It also asked elders to come up with a specific timeline on the matter, specifying how often it happened, where it happened, and what led up to it. Elders have to inform whether they got informed by the victim themselves and if anyone has reported the issue to the police, with 3 subsequent questions if they have. Finally, it asks whether or not the elders have done their own research on the matter and asks of any other information that might be useful. This horrifying form not only proof that the Jehovah's Witnesses carefully document every single case of a CSA allegation. It shows us that all of the information collected is focused on information control. All the data collected has one thing in common. It's all somewhat relevant if you want to figure out how easy it is to cover up the matter. This form also proves how somebody accused of CSA might be deemed repentant and therefore be allowed to remain in the congregation, and how when that happens, people in the congregation must not be informed unless the service department says so. And since we're in there already, it also shows how that service department has a gigantic amount of control, since without their approval, elders cannot inform of anybody of the matter, not even to the police or to other potential victims. And it proves that the Jehovah's Witnesses have a massive database of PDF files with at least this amount of information compiled on them, all sent through jwpub.org. At first, I thought that this file was only in the hands of one YouTuber who said was going to release it only on a case-to-case basis if he deemed you worthy of receiving it. Luckily, you can avoid this and a whole bunch of useful documents in AvoidJW.org. They have a massive database of all kinds of secret forms and worksheets that I will definitely be reading up on. I'm not connected in any way, shape, or form to AvoidJW.org. I'm just a happy and thankful user. Don't forget to support them, and if you have anything left, maybe support me in the form of a donation, a subscription, or the purchase of a cool merch item. Thank you so much to my supporters, especially these guys over here, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to find more about the secrets of this religion.